Good day. I am a Dr. Teke Apalata, a clinical microbiologist. There are a lot of negative perceptions about the COVID-19 vaccine across the world. And quite a number of polls have been conducted involving several countries. So what we are going to do today, we are going to share a number of results from different polls with you, just to show the perception of people regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. And then in the second part of this presentation, I'm just going to discuss with you the vaccine development process so that you can try to realize what it takes actually to bring into a vaccine onto the market so that we kind of try to eradicate that kind of negative behavior or negative attitude that many people have um, across the world regarding the vaccine. So we will discuss two things, and the last issue will be just me drawing a conclusion. So I will share poll results on worldwide skepticism about COVID-19 vaccine. Then I will take you through the vaccine testing process and the conclusion, that is my bottom line, okay? So let's look at the poll result. You know, there is this poll that was conducted, it's called the IFOP poll, and it involves so many participants. And what they have found is that lower income and blue collar workers were the most reticent, you know, with only 28% of them saying they will get a vaccine. So they will accept to get a vaccine, you know. This is serious, you know. And among the young people, and so defined in this survey as adults aged below 35 years, only 29% said they will get a vaccine, you know, and this result actually among the young people was 30 points lower than those aged above 65 years. So it's like adults above 65 years mainly were in agreement that they would accept to get a vaccine, but most of the people aged below 35 years are not willing to get a vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, there was another version of the IFOP poll, you know, but this was the IFOP for C News and the CD radio. You know, in this poll, in this survey, they found that 61% of participants said they did not have any intention to get the COVID-19 vaccine, no intention at all to get the vaccine. Then one of the biggest poll that is called the Gallup survey that included 140,000 people from 44 countries, you know. So what was the key findings from this poll? They showed that the French participants were the most vaccine skeptical in the world. And we can just see what is happening in France right now. You know, despite that they have an approved vaccine, and the stock is already there. This coming Sunday, they are starting to vaccinate people in France, but many people are still skeptical about the vaccine. They don't want. So actually, the government is trying to come out with a number of strategies to try to boost people in order to accept to get the vaccine. So France, the French people were the most skeptical among the 44 countries that took part of this poll. And with 1 in 3, it's only 1 in 3 saying they did not believe that the vaccine, this vaccine, were safe. So people are questioning safety of the vaccine, okay? 1 in 3 did not believe that the vaccine are safe. Then another biggest poll that was then conducted in France itself by the Santé Publique France, that is the biggest public health authority in France, revealed that only 53% are certain, only 53% are now certain or most likely certain to get vaccinated, as compared to 64% in July. So in July, at least 64% were certain or most likely certain that they will accept the vaccine. But now in December, 53% refused. They only 53 said they are likely to agree to get vaccinated. So this is a serious issue. Now, among the reasons, and there was recently, yesterday I was reading about another poll in the US, where actually the same problem, people are skeptical, but at least, the number of people agreeing to accept the vaccine is slowly increasing. And we have seen in the US yesterday, the president-elect Joe Biden agreed to go and to get his first dose of the vaccine. And we also saw the current Vice President Mike Pence, who also accepted to get the vaccine, and all that to try to build the momentum to allow their citizens to accept the vaccine. But among reasons given for not getting the vaccine, 67% of people said they did not feel the product is safe. Now, why so much? Why people are so skeptical about this? Why are them questioning, 67% of people questioning safety of the vaccine? No, so that's why I will take you through the vaccine development process so that we can eradicate this negative behavior, this negative perception that people have about the vaccine. 33% said they would prefer to continue with other methods of protection, such as the social distancing and the mask. They don't want the vaccine. They prefer to remain with the use of mask and keep observing social distancing. It's much more better for them than accepting to take the vaccine. 18% of people said they were against the vaccine in general. It doesn't matter whether it's the COVID-19 vaccine or any other vaccine, they don't want. So this is the biggest issue. And there is those biggest conspiracy theories against the COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of conspiracy theories. There is this notion of health dictatorship or the attack on public freedom, to try to impose people the vaccine. But we have heard the French president, Emmanuel Macron, saying that they are not going to impose people to get the vaccine, but somehow people are feeling the pressure. It's like, you have to. And there are even people who are referring to this as a totalitarian measure. Why so much pressure on people to get a vaccine? Okay, and there is all those rumors about if you don't have an evidence of you getting if you did not get vaccinated, maybe you will not travel. So there will be travel ban for people who will not be carrying the vaccination card. But the French president, Emmanuel Macron, and the other European leaders are saying it's not compulsory, but we encourage people to get vaccinated. It is not a health dictatorship. It's not an attack to public freedom. It's not a totalitarian measure. So we just encourage people to get vaccinated. Then there are people who think who are raising the short duration of the vaccine testing process. Oh, this is another issue because people are used to see the vaccine being developed for several years, like 4, 5, 6 years working on a vaccine development process. Now, the first vaccine came like less than 10 months or 10 months maximum. It's already there. People feel like, oh my God, this thing might not be safe, or it's just, how is it possible that you can have a vaccine in 10 months? How safe is this vaccine? Do they know all side effects of this vaccine? It becomes a problem. But guys, this is a serious pandemic that is also killing people now. We need to wait. Do you want to be in ICU, or and now with this new variant that is killing much more faster than the initial strain, and we have to wait it against agreeing to get a vaccine. What do you think? A lot of conspiracy theories against the COVID-19 vaccine. Then there are also people who think about business motives to try to boost economies, because the COVID has destroyed economies. Then they think that countries or healthy, wealthy countries are coming with this new vaccine. Just our companies are trying to, to make a lot of money or to impose compulsory measures on people to try to boost their economies. Okay. And then it does not end there, because people are now questioning if mandatory vaccination is ethical at all. Is it ethical? Is mandatory vaccination ethical? You know, so those are a lot of issues that can explain how skeptical people are worldwide, whether you are in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in America, in Australia. People are just skeptical about all these COVID-19 vaccine issue. Okay, but guys, please, let's look at the vaccine testing process. Let's look at the vaccine testing process. Maybe it will just make people to cool down and get vaccinated. When you start testing for a molecule that you found that it has potential, to protect people, it goes first through what we call a preclinical testing. During the preclinical testing phase, scientists test a new vaccine on cells. It's in vitro, in the lab. They have tissue cultures, plates, and where they are going to try to test their molecule in vitro first. And then still in the lab, they will use animals, lab animals, like your mice or monkeys. They will inoculate those animals. Then they will collect their blood or secretions to try to see how much immune response they have generated during the process, just to try to see if this new molecule will be able to generate a good immune response. Okay, believe me, all the vaccine candidates will have to go through the preclinical testing process. Then after that, we move into phase one. Phase one is the safety phase. It's called phase one safety trials, where they are now going to assess this molecule for safety. Okay, for safety. So here, scientists will give the vaccine just to a small number of people, who are the volunteers, to test for safety, and also to try to estimate the dosage, as well as to confirm that it is able to stimulate the immune system in humans. Remember, in preclinical, they did it in animals, they did it in vitro, but now they are trying to look at in humans if it will be able to to stimulate the immune system. So in small number of people, they test for safety. It's safe. What is the estimated dose? And how strong is the product able to stimulate the immune system? Then they move to what we call a phase 2 expanded trials. Phase 2 expanded trial. During this phase, scientists will give the vaccine to hundreds of people, you know, from different groups. They can use like different groups of people. Sometimes they can give to children and adults, or they can give to females and male, and just to try to compare if actually the vaccine acts differently in among those different group of people, you know. And the other objective of phase 2 is to further test the vaccine safety in a large number of people, So trust me, all vaccine candidates, even for COVID-19, went through the same process. So there is no issue about questioning about their safety now, or if they are effective or not, because they went through this stringent, process of getting approved. Then the phase 3, it's called the efficacy trials, efficacy trial. Remember, all phase 1 and 2, all they were trying to do is to assess for safety issue, for safety issue. Now that you have used it in several hundred of people, now you want to look at the efficacy. Is it really working? You had some proof concepts during the preclinical because you saw that it can generate a huge immune system, it can stimulate a huge immune system, but now you want to test for efficacy. Now here scientists give the vaccine to thousands of people and wait to see how many will become infected as compared to the volunteers who just receive a placebo. So they compared those who receive a placebo, it means that they did not receive the true vaccine, and those who receive that new molecule. And they see the two cohorts, they check to see how many in this group can be infected and how many in the group that did not receive, who receive a placebo, are infected. So they compare to assess what we call efficacy. So the trials can then determine if the vaccine protects against the coronavirus, measuring what we call efficacy rate. So they measure the efficacy rate to try to see were there people who got infected despite being vaccinated. So the phase 3 trials are also large enough to reveal evidence of relatively rare side effects. So if there are any side effects that were not identified in phase 2, phase 3 trials are large enough to try to pick up all those situations. So then, what's thereafter? Phase 3. So we can have what we call the early or limited approval of the vaccine. For example, in the UK and in the USA, UK and USA have given emergency authorization to, for example, to the Pfizer vaccine, based on preliminary evidence that they are safe and effective. So, and we have seen like China and Russia have authorized some of their vaccine without even waiting for the phase 3 trial result. So they give it, most of the Chinese vaccine are limited vaccines so far, only for usage in specific circumstances in China. And Russia, it's also limited to the Russian people under specific conditions. So those are early or limited approval that some countries decided because of the emergency situation, what they can do. Then, otherwise, the vaccine can get a full approval. So for it to get a full approval, there are regulators, regulators or regulating bodies who review the complete trial results. They will then get all data regarding the trials. They review them and the plans for vaccine. If they approve, then they will have put plan in place for vaccine manufacturing process, how it will happen, and decide whether to give it full approval or not. But then another issue that they will check here, it's the issue of quality, because the initial quality of the vaccine that will be manufactured, they need the regulators or the regulating bodies need to assure that the same quality will remain throughout the process as they keep manufacturing. Remember that they will not be able to manufacture all doses at the same time. So they do them as they move along. But then there is what we call combined phases, okay? Combined phases, it's actually one way to accelerate the vaccine development, like in a situation of, by combining phases, you can actually accelerate the vaccine development, And in many cases, we had, for example, vaccines that can be in phase 1 and phase 2 trials at the same time. That's what we have seen, It makes the vaccine development process to be complete in a short period of time, So you are doing preclinical and phase 1 trial at the same time in parallel. So you are looking at animal models and you are looking at in a small group of people at the same time. And we have seen some other vaccines are now at phase 2 and 3 at the same time. So phase 2 and phase 3, they are being in parallel. So that is a strategy that can be used actually to try to reduce the time frame, especially looking at the emergency situation in the pandemic. And the other way that make this vaccine also to be generated at a short period of time, it's also like some other type of vaccine, the technology was already existent. So they were already working on some other technologies, like with the Zika virus and other viruses. So scientists already had the technology in place. Sometimes they already had the equipment in place. So it was much more easier by using the existing technology and combining phases to shorten the duration of the vaccine development process, okay? Then please remember that there are some other molecules that were paused or abandoned, other trials that were abandoned, because if investigators observe worrying symptoms in volunteers, they can pause the trial. And after an investigation, the trial may resume or be abandoned. So we have observed all this. So what am I saying? What I'm trying to say is that the vaccine that we have on the market now went through those who are approved, like the Pfizer vaccine that is already approved, the Moderna that is already approved, and and AstraZeneca's one, it's going to be approved soon because it's just going through the last processes. So, and other vaccine, key vaccine that are there on the pipeline. Follow my next lecture. I'm going to discuss all those vaccines that are in the pipeline now. So all those vaccines went through all these processes, different phases. It's just sometimes they could combine phases or they are using existing technology or existing resources. So the bottom line is that getting vaccinated is one of the many ways you can take to protect yourself and others. It's very important, guys, that we agree to get vaccinated, okay? Then stopping this COVID-19 pandemic requires using all available strategies that we have, So we know that the vaccine works by boosting our immune system to fight the COVID, the virus. But the other ways like mask and social distancing help to reduce your chance of being exposed to the virus, or spreading the virus to other people. So those are strategies that complement to each other. So here you are using mask or you are using social distance, you're practicing social distancing to reduce the chances of being exposed to the virus or transmit the virus to other people, but you also get vaccinated so that your immune system is well boosted. And when you become exposed to the virus, if it happens that you become exposed to the virus, then you are protected. So your body, your immune system will be able to fight the virus. So together, COVID-19 vaccination and all those infection prevention and control measures offer then what we call the best protection package, to fight COVID-19. So follow our next lecture. I am going to discuss all different vaccines that are now on the pipeline, and as well those who are already approved, and the plan for approval, and the plan for developing countries. Thank you. Goodbye for now.